If you collect World War II militaria as I do, you'll see that it is common to come across pieces where you can trace the identity of the original owner. If there's a name or serial number or laundry number stenciled or printed on the inside of the piece of clothing or equipment that you're buying, with a simple Google search, you could possibly trace the history of the owner who used that item during the war. And you can actually attach the original history to the item. And for me, this has been the case with many pieces in my collection. And with today being Memorial Day, I thought it appropriate to show you guys one of the pieces in my collection where I was able to trace not only the name of the original owner, but I was also able to figure out and learn about his entire story from World War II. And it's a story that has a rather tragic ending. So this is a B3 Mae West life preserver. This is an original item from World War II, and I purchased this back in 2021. So I've had it for about 5 years now. I was online searching, and I came across a website that deals in World War II aviation militaria, and they had this B3 Mae West listed for sale on their website. Now, I thought the price was reasonable, and the description simply said that it was an original B3 Mae West life preserver from World War II, and it was in pretty good condition. And I went ahead and purchased it because I didn't have one for my collection, and I had been looking for one to add for quite a while at that point. Now, when I received it in the mail and I took it out of the box, I immediately looked every inch of this Mae West over. I looked at the inspection stamp here and also the inspection stamp on the inside that you can see right here. And if you'll also notice, it has a wartime die marker added to it that's glued on the inside. And while I was looking this Mae West over, I discovered on the leather patch sewn to the front, which is where you would buckle the front of your parachute harness, that there was a name, rank, and a serial number written in pencil on the lower left side. And it reads Staff Sergeant R.L. Surratt, and the serial number is 15112278. Now, I immediately went online and I Googled that name and serial number, and right away I was able to come up with several leads. And I discovered that the man who wore this Mae West during World War II, his name was Staff Sergeant Richard L. Surratt. Richard L. Surratt was born in 1923 in West Virginia, and he enlisted into the Army Air Corps on March 18th of 1942, where he trained and eventually became a radio operator gunner. Eventually, he was assigned as a radio operator gunner aboard a B-26 Marauder attached to the 452nd Bomb Squadron of the 322nd Bomb Group of the 9th Air Force. Now, for those of you who don't know, the 322nd Bomb Group is the same bomb group that the B-26 Marauder flak bait was attached to throughout its service during World War II. And you may recall flak bait from an earlier video I made a little while ago talking about the current preservation project she's undergoing right now. Now, when Richard and his crew were assigned to the 452nd Squadron of the 322nd Group, they were assigned to a B-26 Marauder called Surratt E, tail number 43-34146. Now, the pilot that Richard was assigned under, his name was Captain Robert R. Hall. And on November the 9th, 1944, the 452nd Squadron went out on a mission to bomb a target in Landau, Germany. But they, for whatever reason, were diverted to their secondary target, which was a bridge in the city of Trier in Germany, which rested along the Siegfried Line near the Luxembourg-German border. On the way back, the formation flew into overcast and encountered severe icing conditions near Nancy in France. Now, Richard and his crew aboard the Surratt E were assigned to fly in the lead low flight, and the flight leader that day was First Lieutenant James H. McCarty. And James McCarty later reported after they returned, as we entered the clouds, my crew reported that my flight was intact. Due to the severe icing conditions, and while still in the clouds somewhere southwest of Nancy, my ship went into a spiral, and I managed to pull out at about 1,500 feet. By this time, all of the ships of my flight had disappeared. However, I managed by means of my radio to hear all of the ships in my flight, with the exception of Lieutenant Olmo's ship and Captain Hall's ship, communicating with one another. Captain Hall's ship was not sighted again. The Sarah E. and her crew were the only ones lost that day from the 322nd Bomb Group. They crashed in a cow pasture at Forest Duval, Grande Court Le Chateau. All 6 men, including Richard Surratt, were killed. It was determined that the cause of the crash was because of the severe icing conditions. It is quite possible that what happened to Lieutenant McCarty and his crew also happened to Richard and Captain Hall on their B-26, the Sarah E, only they weren't able to pull out in time and ended up crashing as a result. Now, Richard is buried in the Ardennes American Cemetery that's located in Belgium. And upon further research, I learned that at the time of his death, Richard was married to a girl named Lorraine. And at the time, she was living with her father in Terre Haute, Indiana, and she was pregnant with their first child. Now, Richard's story is one of hundreds of thousands of stories just like it from American families all across the country at that time. Richard answered the call in 1942, and he volunteered to serve his country in the fight against fascism. With today being Memorial Day, I wanted Richard's story to help explain why we celebrate Memorial Day in the first place. I truly hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to leave a comment and hit the like, share, and subscribe button so that other people can become aware of Richard's story. Thank you.